Folks, welcome once again to WKNI TV 25. Good news segment for Covington County. I'm here with a doctor that's been in our community for a while. We're going to introduce you to him and talk a little bit more about him as we go along. But Dr. Diel, that's D-I-E-L.
Correct.
Okay. And as your wife says, if you had your name up in neon signs, if the light went out on the L, it'd be Dr. Di.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I say most of the time, you pronounce it like dial soap, just not spelled that way. Way too much childhood pain associated with that little joke.
Well, there you go. But Dr. Diel, we've been sitting here with you for quite a while this morning, talking to you, getting to know you a little bit. And we had the opportunity the other day to get to know your wife. And what a wonderful family here in the community to serve this community as well. And I want to thank you for allowing us to come in and talk with you about your business, as well as some other things going on as far as healthcare and things like that as well.
And this family, I mean, I consider my staff and what we do here as a family. We spend 40 hours a week with each other, and a lot more than that with some people. So it's important. It's a second family, and it's important that you recognize that as a leader of a business, because they are your best asset. And if you don't have them and their best interest at heart, nothing's going to flow like it should afterwards.
Well, I noticed that with your staff as well. Everybody's kind of got a nickname. Yeah. And there's a lot of good sense of humor here. A lot of, I guess it's, I want to call it poppy atmosphere. You're very energetic, and folks around here are just, they're happy. They're just enjoying being around each other. And that's hard to find sometimes.
You got to keep it loose as much as possible. And I'm not always that way. I have problems too. Everybody does. We're human. We have bad days or whatever, but on a whole, we try our best to keep it loose. The ultimate goal is every day, generally, that they look forward to coming to work and interacting with the co-workers and interacting with the patients and taking care of people.
Well, Doc, also, and if you don't mind me calling you Doc,
you can call me Kevin. I prefer Kevin.
Well, that'll be hard to do, but Kevin, the employees, the people that work here, I've never heard you say once employees since we've met you and your wife. You've always, by name or family or something like that. And that comes down to the patients that you have, because each person that comes in these doors is an individual, such as my wife and I are. When we walk into a doctor's office, we're individuals. We have individual concerns and questions going on in our lives, and we have to depend on what you say or your staff says and what the results are and the treatment thereof. So when you have this kind of atmosphere in your office, I just got to say it makes you feel a lot more comfortable than walking in and having somebody just stone face you and say, have a seat.
Yeah. It's very important. It's all part of the plan. One of the things that different doctors' offices do is it may be 2 or 3 different nurses, and you don't know which one you're going to get each time. Well, you're always going to get Vicky when you come see me, unless she's out sick or whatever, because I want Vicky to develop that relationship with the patients as well, so she can prompt me to something that I may not, or I may overlook. So there's always someone overlooking another person, and that's an important part of that. Plus, the more they see the same person, the more they're going to be open up with that person as well. So it's all about that ability to make you comfortable, to make you enjoy it. I mean, it is a service. We are providing a service, and so that means you should walk out of here feeling good about the service, as opposed to being just run through in 10 seconds seeing the doctor, and then that's the end of it.
Well, a lot of us complain about that, being put in a room, waiting in the lobby for an hour, 2 hours, and being called back and sit another hour or 2 hours in the room back, and then have the doctor come in for 2 minutes and is gone. And I'm seeing healthcare taking a change right now in that direction, especially in this area. with your office, and in fact, Andalusia Regional Hospital. I can't speak highly enough of them. The emergency room staff last week took care of me over there for my sugar diabetes, and I had a crisis with it at the time. And I was just amazed at how they came along, and it was such a big difference. And walking in your office, I kind of see that same trend where your folks are with the same mindset as far as, being positive, being, very helpful. When you come in, nobody is going to sit here and wait 20 minutes and not get an answer to something, is what I feel.
Hopefully not.
That's what I feel. I'm
that's
just saying.
The ultimate goal, yes. That we don't. And again, our goal really is only to see about 25 patients a day. So that way we don't. Some people are seeing up to 60 a day.
Oh, yeah.
And you cannot, and the thing is it does compromise my bottom line. It really does. But I'll take that, because I'm not in it necessarily for bottom line. I'm in it to give a good quality health care. And the only way to have that is to have a personal relationship with your patient. And that takes time.
I have gone to doctors that, what's your name?
Yeah.
And it's scary, because you're hoping that he read your chart and that you're going to get the proper care. And it's a scary situation sometimes. And to have that no fear walking into a doctor's office is something that you're hearing about on a daily basis now, with a lot of things coming out. I want to cover some bases. Let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about your background. You come, you're actually started out in Andalusia with us here locally. You had an office there, right?
Actually, we can go back even further for one. I've come in and out of Alabama now since 1983. First came down to Alabama to go to flight school in the Army, and then I came back to Alabama for 4.5 years as a pilot at Fort Rucker, and came back for just a few weeks in 2001 after I became a doctor, and then I moved down here permanently with Cheryl in 2008 after I retired from the Army, and I took a job at Fort Rucker for 3 years. And at that point, I wasn't being allowed to be the person that I wanted to be. And it was just becoming too frustrating, so I was offered a position down at Florala. And so I jumped at the chance, went down to Florala. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But then in about June, Mark Dooley, who used to be the CEO of Andalusia Regional, came down and started recruiting me to come up to Andalusia and help me set up a place like up here. And I knew that I could bring Brenda Smith with me, who would have, again, brought an immediate group of people. So we went ahead and we started and put our shingle out the September of 2011. And we spent 2 years over there, and we'd always wanted to move into our own building and get it just right. And so earlier this year, I believe it was in April, this came up available, and I talked with John Bartholomew, who owns the place, and we came up with a good deal so that we could get in it without too much expense initially on it, as far as even the payments. He helped us out with that while we went ahead and spent, since June, probably at least June, we've been working on this place, trying to get it ready to, modifying everything to get it ready. So,
well, it's a beautiful office building inside. I was in here years ago when it was the old building inside, and your wife gave us a tour, and hopefully we'll be able to take some shots here later on and show those to our viewers as well. But you've made a great, you've taken great advantage of the space that you've had to utilize it for a production type purpose, as far as the comfort of the patients coming in the door, as well as your staff in lab work and everything that you have. So we're impressed with that. We've seen it. A lot of doctors today that are coming out of the, I would say, the schools and military coming in, they're having great difficulty with it because getting into business, you have to usually fall under a great big corporate umbrella.
A practice.
And it's not always a happy situation.
No.
If you want to be an independent doctor and have an independent relationship with your patients, you have to take that stigma of the corporate ladder, as they say, and you don't have that here.
It's the single physician practice that I'm practicing here is a dying breed. It's harder and harder to do. The insurance companies are trying to squeeze every penny out of me. When you're with a larger practice, they have an ability to negotiate better reimbursement for your services, and that's the thing. So as far as a profitable venture, it's not. It's not a profitable venture. It's a break even, and I'll be happy with that. But that's the biggest issue, and the only way to do it now is, again, more and more are becoming employees of hospitals. Why? If the hospital owned my business right now, they'd get more reimbursement simply because we're hospital owned. What's wrong with this picture?
Exactly.
But that's the way it is this day. But you're correct as far as in the back. One of the things I've always had a great understanding of is everybody contributes to how we do things, and that goes into how we did things in the back. We went over and over and over different ways we wanted to do things in the back, literally hundreds of times before we even, one time what we did is after we got the walls down in one of the rooms, I taped off on the floor where the new walls and the new hall and everything would be, and had everybody come in and look at it and see what they thought about it too. We really tried to think through how that building was going to be back there in order for it to go along with my other credo, which is work smarter, not harder, because I am chronically lazy myself. So I don't want, but that's what we wanted to do every time we did anything back there. Matter of fact, one of the rooms back there had 2 separate stud walls erected and then torn down because we didn't like what we had. And finally we got the perfect utilization out of it. The third time was a charm, and we got the perfect utilization out of it, and it worked better than anything we would have imagined the other way. So that's kind of what we did there. Used everybody, the people who are going to be back there, using that to give us the feedback to do it properly.
Now, we're talking about hospitals. Andalusia Hospital, I mentioned earlier. You practice at Andalusia Hospital currently.
Correct.
And you're going to continue that, correct?
Yes, that's one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, is having the ability for patients to choose, because there's a lot of patients that do have a very strong opinion one way or the other for Mizell or for Andalusia. Right. And so now I'm going to be able to offer them that option, which, you know.
So you're going to be practicing at Mizell as well?
Exactly.
See, there's not a lot of doctors in this community that do that.
Matter of fact, I don't know if there's one general family practice that does. I think I'm the one. Some of the surgeons will, but I don't think there's another family practice doctor that works at both.
Well, see, that's why we had our doctor here in Op, because he was here and he practiced at Mizell, but he didn't practice in Andalusia. So, you know, it kind of made it, you had to, you know,
exactly
go to Mizell if there's a problem. And I want to clarify something with folks out there, and you're right. When you talk about Op and Andalusia, you get down to that fabled railroad track down there in Sanford, and you know, it's like crossing the line. I was telling your wife the other day about that the old railroad track down there is a milestone for people in Op and Andalusia. And I've got to say, I've been a patient at both hospitals, and I have to say that both hospitals are excellent hospitals. The staff, the care that you get, the level of care, the way they treat you at both places is wonderful. And so I just wanted to make sure we got that, you know, clear too. I mean, everybody's going to have their own opinion, and you know, they're going to have their own experiences. Mine for a long time was my mom died at Andalusia Hospital, so it was difficult for me to go into that hospital knowing that, you know, that was there. There's a lot of that happens with people, an emotional step. But as far as the quality of care, second to none in our community, as I've always said here on Good News Covington County, we have these icons in our community that we need to be proud of and recognize the assets.
Absolutely.
We have Andalusia Hospital. We have Mizell Hospital. These are great assets in our community. Not very many counties across this country that have the demographics that we have would have the opportunity to have what we have in Florella, what we have in Opp, and what we have in Andalusia. The quality of doctor care, second to none. We're very lucky. And that's just Eddie Bosa, but I want to make sure we get the good news out there too as
And there's,
countywide.
most of my experience as far as the family practice doctors right now is still with Andalusia. And I'm here to tell you there's not one doctor probably that I wouldn't go to at Andalusia for care. I have great respect for all of their clinical abilities. 3 of them, as a matter of fact, I pair up with for weekend coverage because I feel comfortable. Leaving my patients with them over the weekend so that way we can, the doctors can have a break and, we cross cover. So once a month I'll cover everybody's patients in the hospital so we can have our breaks too.
Well, like I say, we're blessed. This community has outstanding assets, and I call them icons. They stand out. We talk about LBW. We talk about school systems. Again, Doc, we're so blessed with what we have in this community, and it's just on this segment that we do try to do one every day about good news in the community. That's why we went to you because you're sampling both sides. We can sit here and go Andalusia and Opp, that railroad track syndrome, as I like to call it. And you brought a lot of your patients over from Andalusia to here as well. Is that correct?
Yes, brought a lot of the patients. One of the things I thought that we'd be able to do.
Doc, as we've been talking about, the assets that we have in the community, and doctors are a huge part of that asset as well as other professions in the community. But we're so lucky in this community to have the variety that we do. We have specialists, we have family practitioners, and then we also have the nursing abilities that we have. A huge asset in a smaller community.
Absolutely.
People that live here look at us as a large community, but we're really not when you look outside.
When you look at the demographics,
Right.
Yeah, we have a very sound medical facility, medical assets here. The home health is second to none. We also have a good hospice program, which is very important for those people at that stage of their lives. So this area, although it's still underserved, is for what they have, they've got a very good group of people to help do that. And we're just going to try to augment that as much as we can by coming here to Opp and help fill the void here that we have because we've had a recent drop. And you're seeing what Obamacare is going to do because the doctors that have been around and our old generation, they don't want to put up with it.
Well, they're retired, as did my doctor.
They're just retiring very
Davis.
early because they said, no, we don't want to mess with it. And it's a lot of aggravations and there are a lot of questions with it.
Well, before we get into Obamacare, let's go ahead and cover some of the things that you have here that I find fascinating that I have not ever been or noticed before in another doctor's office. And the first thing I want to share with you is on our tour that we had with your wife when we came in, there's some kind of filtration system that you have in the building. And I was like, really? I go, this is absolutely phenomenal. Tell us about that.
Well, what happened is the first floor here has 4 separate air conditioning zones, 4 different air handlers. And one of the things that I thought about, and most people also do, is, okay, this zone right here is obviously going to have the most concentration of sickness than any area. And so And the problem was, is I also saw that my staff was going to get that air as well, because it's going to go into the cold air return and then circle back through there. So I wanted to protect the staff as much as well. So what we did is we spent the money. We had a HEPA filter put on this air conditioner zone. Also, we put an ultraviolet light system, which also kills bacteria, in this zone here. The other zone that gets the second most amount of sickness is in the individual exam rooms. And that system, we also placed an ultraviolet light in its cold air return as well to help reduce the amount, and again, of cross-contamination. You know, even though you may have someone very sick in room 1, room 8 doesn't have to worry about the fact that they're going to get that as well. So we tried our best to isolate that area into also, and the other thing you found out is something as simple as comfort. So many times you have 1, maybe 2 at most, air conditioning units that control area, and it really varies between different areas. And so the ability to have smaller segmented areas that get controlled by one thermostat is very important for the health and comfort of people as they come into here.
Well, we were talking off camera a little bit too. I find that fascinating because, you know, you always wonder if somebody's got the flu bug in the room next to you, and you know that air conditioner's over there as well. And, you know, I don't care how much of the alcohol-based antibacterial
disinfectants
that you put on, you're still going to breathe them in.
Exactly.
And you have covered that here, which I find fascinating. I don't know if any other doctor's office I've ever been into has ever thought that far ahead. You know, on it, and I'm glad you have, because that really makes a lot of sense, as they say. Doc, we touched base on it earlier about when we first opened up, about coming in, sitting down, and having to wait, you know, 2 hours for a doctor, and then wait another hour in the, you know, treatment room or whatever, or exam room. You've got something you'd like to share with us on that about booking, or
Exactly.
You call it booking, we call it our appointments.
Yeah, appointments.
And,
what happens is, I would love, in a perfect world, to do a 100% booking on my schedule, and that's it. Would love it. Unfortunately, for whatever reasons, people don't show for their appointments. And not only do they not show, they don't even bother to call. Don't know all the reasons, I just know it's a fact of life. Well, unfortunately, because of that fact, I have to do something in order to make sure that I have 100% bookings in every appointment slot. And to do that, the only thing I can do is double book. It's just a fact of life. I cannot afford to leave a half-hour slot open, so we double book. And a lot of times, you'll never see the problem, or you will never see that, okay? But then we have the perfect storm days when everybody shows up for all the appointments. Then it gets very, very crowded, and things will go a little bit longer. And I apologize for that, but I can't do anything about it. I have to stay. Remember, this really isn't a profit place here. So I can't afford to have open time. I have to be able to see everybody, and Cheryl as well. So that's been an issue, and I apologize for it. I wish I could do something else, but I can't. We do try our best to get you back as quick as possible. We don't want you in the rooms any longer than you absolutely have to. We try our best. But again, that's part of that. And it's not because my time's more important than yours. Absolutely not. Everybody's time has the same worth. The difference is I need to be able to have someone absolutely waiting for me in order to keep that steady stream and literally a steady income stream besides being able to take care of people. So that's why we do that. And if we ever get to a point where we can do something different, I'll do it in a heartbeat. But right now, we just have to do that. And I just ask you to bear with us. If you're on one of those unfortunate days, it's a perfect storm. We just do our best and try to get you out of here And we do pretty good. I mean, normally if it's a morning, very seldom do we ever go past 12:30. Normally our last patient is booked in at 11:30. So we do a pretty good job, even on perfect storm days. But that's just something that I just asked for you to be understanding about for us.
Well, Doc, I always wondered about that because I'd come in and I'd see people putting down what time their appointment was, and at the same time mine was. And I was like, okay, there's only one doctor.
One doctor, what's going on?
And it's like, what's happening here? But that makes sense because, if somebody doesn't show up, you still have to pay the people here
Absolutely.
that are working for you. And you do have quite a number of staff members here. We've been watching, the past couple of days we've been in and out. But you got some great folks here. I can't. Your wife is a great asset, by the way. She talks well about you.
Oh, well, when she's medicated, she's fine.
There's that sense of humor. I love you guys. Folks, it's not just with me and the camera. He's that way from the time he walks in the door. I can't imagine what you like. I don't want to ever see it, but bedside manner in a hospital because...
Well, it's, it just depends. I have been known to get in bed with a patient.
Oh, I don't want to hear this.
But the thing is one of the things, too, that's important about it, actually, someone asked me one time, well, how would you describe yourself as far as like TV characters? Well, a lot of it comes from MASH. I try to have the comic sense of Hawkeye, the compassion of Father Mulcahy. I used to have the curly hair of Trapper John. I have the body of Winchester. And I have the leadership ability of Henry Blake. So
quite a character list. Where's Radar fit? Oh, with the hair.
No, there's nothing about me that's close to Radar because Radar is borderline or he's a very competent person. So I don't think that.
Don't sell yourself short, Doc. But all right, all this great stuff we're talking about, the positive things here. We talked off camera briefly, and you brought it up just a little bit. We're all getting afraid of something coming around the corner, and I know I had a big fear, and my wife still does. Mm-hmm. Being that I am a veteran, I have the choice of being, through the veterans care or going through the health care. Mm-hmm. And because it's so confusing and so cost prohibitive on my part, my wife's part,
absolutely,
I went ahead and went with the veterans care, and my wife is going to be under what they call the affordable health care program mm-hmm. now, which I have not been able to see where it's affordable.
Yeah.
She could probably get on for like $400 or $500 a month and have a $20,000 deductible. There's nothing affordable about that.
No, the first problem they did with it is they made it cookie cutter, and the number one principle of medicine is there's no such thing as cookie cutter. All right, your wife, likely postmenopausal, but they still want her to have prenatal health care in her insurance policy. What's wrong with this picture? Matter of fact, you might even get, if you go on to the affordable health care, you might even get prenatal care coverage. That's how ridiculous the requirements are. Something that happened just about a year ago that people don't understand that was part of it also, I call it the Michelle Obamacare issue, was we were giving the ability to bill for 3 hours of talking about diet, nutrition, and weight issues. And we could bill for that. And that bill would be probably, we could bill as much as like $150 per hour for this. Well, them wanting to think that this is an important, nice thing to do, they also put a provision in there that said the insurance companies could not enact a copay for any of that $150. Okay, so 3 hours, $450 a year, $450 a year to bill for this. I'm billing for $450. They aren't allowing, the Obama administration is not allowing the insurance companies to recoup any of that money from the patients in the form of a copay. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the insurance company is going to eat that $450? No, they are going to pass it on, and I guarantee you it will be passed on in a higher rate that is far in excess of $450. So these are the things that they don't, they're well-intentioned, but they're not thought out, and that's the problem. And even now, one of the things that people don't understand is the 5 million people that have just recently got their insurances canceled, drop in the bucket. Next October, there is over 100 million people who have employer insurance who are now going to fall under the Obamacare rules and that cookie cutter rule that I talked about. What's going to happen is all of a sudden, all of these employers, myself being one even though I don't have 50 and I'm mandated, I still need to offer for patients. What's going to happen is we're going to find it's so cost prohibitive that all these people, a large portion of those 100 million, are going to get notices that they're not going to have employer-provided health care, go out on the exchanges and get it.
Here's a scary thought, Doc. You know, it comes to my mind, people are just not going to be able to afford health care, period. And they're going to come to you, they're going to go to the hospitals, and the hospitals and the doctors are going to know that they can't afford it. They're uninsured. And my wife and I have been uninsured for 7 years now. And believe me, when we have an event, okay, it's costly. And you know, you do the best you can. I had thought of Obamacare because we're classified uninsurable. I'm a diabetic. I have high blood pressure. I have hypothyroidism. My wife is a cardiac patient and you know, high blood pressure as well. Insurance companies just laugh at you, you know, up until this new Obamacare. And we thought, man, mandatory coverage. This is great. Even if we have to pay $500-600 a month, it's great. But I never expected the deductible that I was going to be facing at the end of it to bring it to that amount. And there's no way you can afford that. See,
that's what they don't understand. It's smoke and mirrors. I mean, just like the different things they've done recently here, the fix that, oh, by the way, several states have even said, no, we're not going with that. They've already gone away from it. But the problem is, the smoke and mirrors comes in, yes, they cannot turn you away, but they didn't say that they couldn't charge you an arm and a leg. They didn't say that they can give you astronomical co-pays and deductibles. So that's the thing. And it makes them feel good that, oh, we did something for these people. But they didn't do a single thing for them because they're still going to be out hundreds and thousands of dollars that they wouldn't. Just like the right now, the fix, again, all the fix was is a kick the can. They said, well, we'll just let that happen for a year. I tell you what they're doing, and they did it recently with the employer mandate. They changed the employer mandate to mid-November of next year. Why did they do that? One simple little thing. They wanted those notices to go out after the midterm elections. It's all about politics. They care less about you. They want it to be after the midterm elections so they have a reasonable chance of trying to stay where they're at. Where if all of a sudden on 1 October, every last person started getting all these here notices of that 100 million I talked about, how hard you would even see Harry Reid get kicked out of office, which we need to do anyway, part of my political thing. But that's exactly why all of these here pushbacks, they weren't really because of that. They weren't. They were all about politics and getting it past the midterm elections so they can keep the majority in the Senate, which would always prevent them from doing what the American people now want, and that is to dump Obamacare.
Again, Doc, going back to the question or statement I made earlier just a moment ago, I appreciate what you're saying. But what's going to happen when people come to your door, similar to what just happened earlier, and we witnessed part of that here today, and they need help right away, but they're not going to have the money to pay you. And I'm not saying, I don't want you to make a stand on that, because I don't want people thinking that you do things for free.
No.
Okay? But they don't have the money to pay, really, in real life. They don't have money to go to the hospitals. Now, my nurse practitioner that I went and visited last week, we had a lengthy conversation on some medications that you're not allowed to have with this new program after the age of 65. And again, the cookie cutter. And she sat there and she goes, what's a shame is because they changed my medication. She says, after the age of 65, which you're not far away from it, and she had to remind me of that, of course.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I love her anyway. She's a good person. But she says, you're not going to be able to get this. Okay? And I was like, are you serious? So I don't know if I've been referring to Soylent Green. There was a movie made back in the 60s, early 70s, where people were only allowed to live a certain length of time. And then there was Logan's Run as well, which was another movie that, people were at a certain age, they had to report and be exterminated.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this seems like we're happening, is we're saying, all right, age 65, you're not going to get treated like you were age 64.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
It goes back to the very premise of Obamacare, and that is getting government involved in something they have no business being in. Anytime government gets involved in something, they'll mess it up. All right? Social Security. To begin with, my father-in-law has his Social Security card, which at the very bottom, it's one of his originals.
Yes.
The original.
Can I say what it says? Not for identification purposes.
Bingo.
On the bottom.
Right there.
Mine says it.
Okay, yours too. Lie number one. Okay, give you a good lie too that people don't understand. When did we first get payroll deduction on our taxes? World War II. They did it during World War II to fund the war. They promised to take it off after the war. But what happened was people were lulled into thinking that, when they got the refunds, oh my gosh, this is great. And also what it does is it prevents people from having to write that enormous check at the end of the year, which they would absolutely freak on. And that's what people don't understand. It's government getting involved in every little bit part of your life, and it never was supposed to be that way. The framers of this Constitution were absolutely amazing people that made one of the closest to perfect things we ever had, and it's all about keep the government out of your life. And once you start it with Obamacare, especially, resources are going to be fixed. You can't keep printing money that has no backing on it. It's going to collapse. And then once it collapses, what are you going to do? And that's the scary thing that we don't need to go down.
Again, Doug. We're going to collapse, but I'm talking about the healthcare system is going to collapse. I mean, we're talking about not next year, not next 2 years from now, 10 years from now. We're talking about immediately now. It's the beginning of a collapse in the medical system.
Yeah.
In medical health and care. And that being, there's going to be people coming in that don't have the money to do this. They can't afford the health care. And I heard a doctor say, you know what? We're going to probably have to get down to bartering sometime. And that's, I kind of like that.
I don't mind it.
Okay.
I don't mind, but the problem is people don't understand too. I wouldn't mind that in the least bit, okay? Because I can butcher me up a chicken in a heartbeat. All right. You're absolutely right, and that's one of the things about AMC. AMC's credo is affordable medical care. I will venture to tell you that you come in here, you're going to pay less than you are anywhere else, because that is my model. 50% of my business right now is self-pay. 50%. Okay, and it's that way because, trust me, my office manager a lot of times says, we gotta raise your prices, we gotta raise your prices. I can't do that. I have a calling, I have an issue, I need to take care of these people. And we do that, we do it in different other things too. Especially with pain. Pain's a big issue with people these days. And one of the medications I use, and again for my self-pays, when they go and get the first amount, 144 of these tablets, it'll cost them about $48, $50 at the pharmacy, okay? I buy it in bulk. I put a very modest increase to cover my overhead, and I give it to them for $23 here, okay? That is what we try to do. And that's what, if we get to a barter system here, hey, I've got plenty of places to put pins up for things. It wouldn't bother me in the least bit. But people don't understand, IRS requires you to report bartering.
Then you have to pay cash.
Well, you have to pay
IRS,
cash
right.
for the taxes, but people,
The
I know
IRS
there was an internet, remember there was that internet thing, hey, we'll just do credits, for
Right.
things like that. It's like, you can't do that, guys. It's against the law.
It's like, and here, you mentioned a very sore subject with me, the IRS.
Oh, don't go there.
Here we go. You mentioned about the taxes of World War II, which was a farce.
Yep.
Okay, and now we're talking about who regulates Obamacare.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
enforces
They're the Gestapo.
Obamacare?
They really are the Gestapo
That and
right now.
The home, what do they call it?
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security
Yeah.
and the IRS are big on top of this. In fact, that's who Obama put over this.
Exactly. And here's something that I just recently saw really was amazing. You get an audit and they say, bring in your records so we can audit you in the IRS, right? Guess what? That's unconstitutional due to the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution specifically states there has to be a sworn affidavit of possible wrongdoing and a court order for a warrant for you to have to produce that. So every last audit that isn't done by a court order is against the Constitution of the United States. What's wrong here?
I guess what we're saying, Doc, is there's a whole lot of issues out there that are coming up. We've got the government getting involved in something that I think 100% of the people out there agree with, that the government does not need to be involved with it.
No.
We've got a president that I respect the office of presidency, but I question his direction and way he's taken this country over the past years.
And I agree 100%.
We can't, we're a capitalistic country. That's what we're based upon. And we're not there. We're having the government telling us what we can and can't do, who we have to have health care with, and how much we got to pay. And that is not what it's supposed to be.
No.
We should have the freedom. I'm going to go back and ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
And insurance companies.
Yes.
Okay. I can't stand insurance companies. Okay. I mean, they're the necessary evil in lives.
Emphasis on evil.
Huh?
Emphasis on evil.
Yes, okay.
I'm sorry.
But instead of regulating the health care, okay, I can't see, and I know why, because we're going to talk politics again.
Oh, yeah. They have the money.
Exactly, to back the politicians.
Yeah.
All right? But they need to be regulated, not the health care.
Good, a nice little thing. One of my favorite writers is Mark Twain.
Oh, yes.
Mark Twain, amazing guy. He considered them the Antichrist back in the 1800s, the insurance companies. Even then, they were thought to be terrible. The insurance companies by far run more of the country than anywhere else. Give you a good example of how it goes the wrong way. And this is my pragmatic thing about money. The money's out there. It's going to be there no matter what. So the question is, who gets it? Okay? Do we give it to the insurance companies that sometimes the CEO may get as much as over $100 million a year, a CEO? Who deserves that amount of money for just running a business? Good example. Let's go back to 1996. I'm a first-year medical student. I go to follow this cardiologist around, and in one bed is his patient, a elderly gentleman who's got congestive heart failure. And he evaluates him and everything. But over in the other bed is a woman. I'm thinking, what's going on here? So when we get outside in the hallway, he tells me that's his wife. He's her primary caregiver. If he is sick with his CHF, if we don't do something for her, then she goes into a nursing home, and we all know what happens if they go. So what they used to do is they would just charge him an extra $15 a day for her to be in that bed right there, and the nursing staff took care of her. That's 1996.
Wow.
Yes. So the pragmatic person says the money's going to go to somebody. Is it going to go to this money-grabbing, profit-oriented insurance company who cares absolutely nothing for your health? All they care about is they get premium after premium after premium, and they try their best to keep as little or to give out in reimbursements as little as possible. If I get a 50% return on my billing, I'm ecstatic. That's how bad it is. Or do we focus it back to the pre-70s days or even pre-2000 days, where hospitals and doctors who have more of an altruistic point of view, who will do the things necessary, which is the way the framers had even initially. That's the difference right there. Try to get that same wife in that bed next to him right now.
You can't.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
Impossible.
Doc, we've covered a lot of territory, and when we get done here with this interview, and Teresa gets done editing this tape, you'll be having her as a patient shortly after.
Excellent.
For nerves. But I want to thank you very, very much for being so hospitable with us. Very warm feeling. Comfort is unbelievable when you sit in this building. A lot of history here as we look outside
Absolutely.
and around it, and you've nurtured that effect in here, bringing your staff and the people that you have here. We want to thank you for that opportunity to share with us. We're going to be talking to you again here when we get off the air about maybe doing something on a regular basis with
Love
us.
to. Absolutely love to.
Because you're telling it as it is. And,
Yeah, I don't mince words.
And I noticed that. And, some folks may take that as that's bad. No, if a person's honest and upfront with you, there's a lot of good things.
Vast majority.
And people ask me, I've had it happen in the past, do you want a doctor that's going to walk up to you and the side of the bed and say, Eddie, you've only got 2 weeks to live? Or would you rather have somebody come up and tell you, you know what, Eddie, you're going to be just fine, keep going, and everything will be cool, and then have that day of disappointment when I die?
Yeah.
I'd rather have you come up and tell me so I can go ahead and that's the kind of doctor I think you are.
Yeah. You want to, I did that recently with one lady too. It's like, and again, the biggest thing we have right now is, again, COPD.
Yes.
With smokers. Terrible. And it's like, you're going to die from this, okay? That's just, I just want you to, what I want you to do is I want you to, and I can't tell you when, but I can tell you will. And I just want you to relish every day. Every day is a gift. And we know that already because we've had recent people in the medical field, a 27-year-old that just dropped dead from a heart attack. And it's just, for everybody, it's a gift, but especially in people like that. And my whole process is one simple thing. Plan for the worst, but hope for the best. So I want people to understand what that worst is, and we keep with hope. I never want to give your hope up. But I also want people to have that opportunity because it's so important. And more importantly than even the person that's there, it's so important for the people they leave behind that that person gets that opportunity to do that. And tough love. Dude, if you don't do this, you're going to lose a leg or you're going to lose a foot. You've got to do this here because I know what the end outcome is. And some don't like it, and I'm sorry. But it's my duty and obligation to make sure you know what your ramifications of your healthy or unhealthy living or whatever are. And I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Well, Doc, we appreciate that honesty, and we're looking forward to talking to you very often in the future. And kind of give us a synopsis here of your office hours, the days that you're open.
Right now, we are open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6, 10 hours a day. We're closed on Fridays, but coming the 1st of February, Cheryl or Charo will be here on Fridays all day. So now we will be open Monday through Friday, starting in February, 8 to 6 every day during the week. So that way we help out, because I know everybody's gone on Fridays. So we're going to do that to help out with patients. We're a family practice first, believe it or not. I mean, I know most people think, you do family practice? Because I do a lot of pain management, because I believe patients or people, not patients, people deserve to be out of pain. Right. Okay? So I do a lot of that. It's aggravation, but it's a necessary aggravation to help people out. But we're family practice, very important. We have a diet clinic here as well to help you if you need some dieting issues. I also have a opiate dependence clinic here, where if you've been determined to have a problem with abusing opiate drugs such as Lortab, oxycodone, hydrocodone, even the methadone, we can help get you off of it and get you on the right road again. We have that as well. We may even in the near future start even a Narcanon meeting here in the place as well, as we let the dust settle from the move. I also do DOT physicals, and that's going to be a change coming up, as we mentioned earlier. After, I believe, March of next year, you must be certified to be able to do DOT physicals. So it's important that all the truck drivers out there know that, because they may go back to the person they normally did and find out, believe it or not, that the money they just spent was wasted. So make sure after March that you check that out. And I'm also an aeromedical examiner for the FAA, so I can do Class 3, which is normal pilot's license, and Class 2, which is a commercial pilot's license. I can do those physicals as well. So we try to take care of everything in one fell swoop. We're going to be trying to get in some specialty people to come in at least once a month and see people in the clinic as well.
Doc, again, thank you so very much for your hospitality and information. More information than I would have ever expected, in honesty, and certainly appreciate it. And I mean that in a good way.
Now I'll bet you're glad you put our tape in.
Yeah, we only had 28 minutes on the other one, but we had some foresight after talking to you briefly. But you're located here in just outside of downtown,
yes,
on the old Highway 84, or
yes,
better known as Cummins Road,
yes,
or Avenue. And it's the old factory office here, and everybody knows what it is. I'm looking over the top of the door, and it's Op Mykola office building. There's a lot of history in this building.
Absolutely, and we're trying to be great trustees of it as well. So we got the big yellow sign out front, so that way you can tell where we are. But yeah, you're absolutely. This building is part of a great, almost century-long lineage, and we are going to be very good stewards of this building, and also try to put things up to remember how important and how integral the Op Mykola Mill has been in the history and development of the city.
Well, I don't want to do it, Doc, but I'm going to say it because I have a feeling I'm going to be one of your future patients. But I don't want to wait long, but I'm going to sit there and say, folks, he is taking in new patients.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to
you wanted to keep it low. Yeah, okay.
Low.
Yeah.
But, Doc, appreciate you. Appreciate your family. You got a wonderful wife. Very understanding of you, by the way. You've been everything that she said you were.
She should get it right after 33 years together.
Oh, geez. Well, you know what? You're 33, I'm 38. When you think about it, we could have done some horrendous crimes in our past and been on parole by now.
I know.
Golly, think about that.
And she accuses me of that all the time.
Doc, thanks again. And folks, what's your phone number here? It is?
We 493 help is the one that we finally got working again. That was
Yeah, because there was some confusion on the
blame Centritel people, not me. Centritel.
There you go.
But the others are 493 3833, 3834, 3835. Hopefully, though, if you just dial 3833, it will roll over to the other one, so you won't have to keep doing
And
it.
that's what you had problems with, was the rollover.
Well, the rollover, they also didn't bring the 493 help in here, which should have been, and I'm still waiting for them to get my 2621, which is my Andalusia number, to automatically forward here, so that way if people try to call that still, they'll still be able to get into us.
Same doc that was in Andalusia.
Absolutely.
Dr. Diel, right
Kevin.
here in Alabama.